This is the 2017 version of Murder on the Orient Express, which is based off the book of the same name. There was a version made in 1974 directed by Sidney Lamont, but this one is directed by Kenneth Branagh, who actually stars in the lead role as Detective Hercule Poirot. I hope I pronounced that name correctly. It's a Belgian name. There might be a chance I fucked it up, or there could be a chance that I may very well have been right. I had to pull up the official trailer just to hear one of the characters say that name, so hopefully I did my best. But anyway, he is on his way back to London aboard the Orient Express when a murder happens. Someone is mysteriously killed aboard the Orient Express, and everyone's a suspect. And it just so happens that the train is stuck in an avalanche. They have no way of progressing forward to their station, so that's enough time for Poirot to solve this case and figure out who the murderer is. So I've actually been looking forward to this movie. I didn't think it was going to be anything spectacular, but it definitely has a beyond stellar cast. You got Kenneth Branagh, Johnny Depp, Michelle Pfeiffer, Judi Dench, Penélope Cruz, Josh Gad, Willem Dafoe, and my celebrity crush as of right now, Daisy Ridley. The reason I wasn't having my hopes that high up is because Kenneth Branagh has proven himself a couple times to be a very good director, but the last movie that he did that I saw was Jack Ryan. I actually didn't see his version of Cinderella. And Murder on the Orient Express is really enjoyable. It's not a great movie per se, it's nothing super special, it's just a very fun and rather engaging murder mystery film, which the last time I saw a murder mystery, it didn't work too well. In fact, it failed spectacularly. But this one doesn't. This one succeeds where that movie doesn't. However, I will admit that this movie is definitely a little more style over substance, because there are a few points in the movie where the storytelling does become a little muddled, and it just mainly has to do with the fact that it has such a stellar cast to it. There are a lot of actors in this movie that I already knew going in were in the movie, and watching the whole movie, it's like, yeah, I know you're in here. But then you have some people like Judi Dench and Willem Dafoe and Penelope Cruz that I go, oh yeah, you're in this movie. So it's never really a bad issue that there's so many actors here, but because there are so many, you're gonna have a little bit of a difficult time rounding everyone together and trying to piece together this murder mystery as it goes along. And a lot of the actors do a really good job in their roles. The big scene stealer throughout the whole movie is Kenneth Branagh. His character is pretty much if you mix the French accent of Inspector Clouseau, but you took away his incompetence. And I'm talking more about the Steve Martin Inspector Clouseau, not the Peter Sellers one. The Peter Sellers one is awesome. But basically, imagine if you took Inspector Clouseau and mixed him with Sherlock Holmes. He's that good of a detective where he can spot the tiniest little detail, even if it's just like a tiny scrape on a painting, and he'll automatically have the case solved. So what really makes this movie interesting is that he has a more than difficult time trying to figure out who the murderer is. And for somebody who has not read the book, I didn't know exactly how this whole story was going to go down. I was engaged to see how everything was going, how all the pieces were going to be put together, and by the end of the movie, once you get to the big resolution, I go, huh, okay, I actually did not see that coming. That's rather clever. I don't want to spoil anything, but I'll just say that as the movie goes on, there's quite a bit of evidence that can lead to several different people being the murderer, to where you never know who to trust. Like the tagline of the movie says, everyone is a suspect. Now, this movie is definitely style over substance. I feel like there are a few points, as I mentioned before, where the storytelling does get a little muddled. The movie does have a gorgeous look to it. The production design inside the Orient Express is fantastic. Some of the shots of the train just going through the hillsides and just through the areas are amazing. And this movie really does feel like it's authentically set in the 1930s. It doesn't try to do anything like Great Gatsby did, where it tried to add in modern music or try to make it hip and cool. It was just the way it was, a period piece and an authentic one. I will say though, as beautiful as this movie can be and as great as the look of it is, there is some terrible CGI. Now, I understand completely that this is not an effects movie like Star Wars or a Marvel film, but the CGI that they use in this movie it looks like something that came out of the early 2000s. Maybe for the early 2000s, like the Star Wars prequels or the Matrix sequels, it would have been fine, but for 2017, it's just rather embarrassing to watch. But then again, there's only a few select set pieces that really use CGI to the fullest. Everything else feels very real and looks very real, so that's just a small gripe. And another gripe that I have is I feel like Patrick Doyle's score at points can be a little overbearing. One of the very first scenes in the movie is of a little boy running around town trying to grab some eggs for the detective, and Patrick Doyle's score is just a little too much. It's like, dude, it's just a kid running from here to there trying to get eggs. You don't need to make it grand and epic. Now, the last criticism that I do have is for one actor in particular. I mentioned that Kenneth Branagh steals the show, even if his mustache is just maybe a little too much. I don't even know if it's physically possible to have a real mustache like that. That would be a great experiment to try one time. But anyway, you have a lot of fantastic actors in this movie who do really good jobs, like Michelle Pfeiffer, Willem Dafoe, Josh Gad, Judi Dench, and Daisy Ridley, who makes me so happy that she can have a career outside of Star Wars, because she is very good in this role and continues to impress me as an up-and-coming actress. But the one weak point in the movie, if there was one actor that I can just say was not that good, it's Johnny Depp. Now, I'm not on board the Johnny Depp hate train, no pun intended. I didn't like the last Pirates of the Caribbean movie, and he has made a few decisions in his career that make me question his choices, but he's still a very talented actor. Not in this movie, though. He seems like he's drunk throughout a lot of the movie. He slurs a lot of his dialogue, and there are a few points here and there where his face says, "Did I just smell a fart?" So if there was one actor to pull out and say he was the weak point, it's Johnny Depp. But overall, I had a lot of fun with this. Again, it's not great. It's a basic and fun murder mystery film. Kind of reminded me of the first Sherlock Holmes movie that Guy Ritchie did, though not as over-the-top or stylized. Yeah, it's a good movie. It's not great by any stretch of the imagination. Again, it does have some story issues here and there, and some of the music is a little overbearing, and then there's Johnny Depp. But the rest of the actors do a fantastic job. It has a great look to it, and you'll be invested with the story. And also, it's pretty short. The movie does have a few pacing issues, at least for my own personal taste, but I was shocked to walk out of the movie and go, that was under 2 hours? Huh, okay. So I definitely recommend seeing this movie. Nothing you have to rush out to see, but I don't think you'll be disappointed. And that's my review for Murder on the Orient Express, the 2017 version. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below and tell me what your thoughts are on the movie, if and when you've seen it. And as always, this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you there's only one.